The Battleface podcast is broadcast live on Fridays and Sundays, and we encourage you to come hang out and chat with Bard and Dare live. Now, prepare to declare attacks. You are entering the Battle Phase. Hello everyone, you have entered the Battle Phase. It is I, the Midnight Bard, your favorite bard, and joining me as always is everybody's favorite joy boy, Dareinger.
I'm Crusty Joe.
Crusty Joe. So, we've been off for a week, just for, purposes.
It's been longer than a week. Been like 2 weeks.
Has it been 2 weeks? I thought that we had an episode
a
couple
long
of weeks.
week. No, we didn't have. It's been like 2 weeks, dude.
Yeah, well, I don't remember why
the car accident wasn't your fault.
I don't remember precisely what the other reason was, but I know that last week was because I went to Anime Frontier, which was an anime convention taking place in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it had some fun. Had some fun. But before we get started, I mean, I guess we gotta do the usual thing, right? We gotta whoop. I am having trouble today. There we are. Boom. There we go, baby. We got the slideshow back. It is good to be back. So before we begin, remember to like, sub, and share. It is the easiest way to help the podcast grow. And to our peeps listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music and such, I'm sorry I haven't uploaded a new episode recently. I've been kind of caught up with like an audiobook, and that consumed so much of my time recently. So I'll get started on editing everything again, re-uploading to the Spotify and the Google Podcasts, etc. But other than that, what the boys up to this week? Dare, you had a thing. You said you were Hollow Parade?
No, that was a lie. I was just baiting you with that.
Oh.
Yeah, they came out with there's an indie game that came out on the December 1st, and it's a tower defense Hololive fan game.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's kind of addictive. It's like I'm playing it right now as we speak.
How does Hololive feel about this? I imagine that.
I think I'm pretty sure they gave them like rights to actually use the characters from Hololive, and because I mean, there's not been any lawsuits that I know of.
No.
So.
Well, that's really cool. Helix in the chat says Bulls on Parade, and Gamma says yes. Both of you guys, it's good that you're here because we're gonna talk about everything that went down at Anime Frontier.
We're not.
Everything, Dare. We are gonna give you the hour-by-hour, play-by-play. But so you say it's a tower defense game, and Helix asks, Dare, do you play Genshin Impact?
No, no. I don't have that much money.
It is a gacha game, so if you want the good characters, you probably will have to spend some money. But that being said, so like, explain to me this Hollow Parade. Is it like your typical like hero type thing where you choose your favorite Hololive VTuber, and
so all of you start out with one unit, and as you play, you get these tickets, and you can get different units that are based off of the different fandoms of the Hololive characters. And then you're able to also get some of the Hololive members themselves as playable characters. And it's just, there's two sides, and you spend points to send characters at the other side, and you try to win.
Helix says it sounds like a gacha. Is it a gacha?
It actually has like gacha elements in it, but it's not a pay to win gacha. So
okay. So as long as it's not pay to win, I feel like a little better about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I personally prefer it whenever like your games. It's like, yeah, is there unlockable characters? Sure, but like you unlock them without having to pay for stuff. Kind of like it used to be in the early 2000s before like online games became kind of a huge thing where it's like, oh, you got Marvel versus Capcom 2? All right, cool. All of the characters are unlockable. You just have to play the game, and I was
Well,
like really cool with that.
it's when it says a tower defense game, it's kind of like if you remember the old Flash game. I think it's called like War of Ages or something, where
Uh,
you'd start out with like Stone Age and send like little guys
yeah.
with loincloths, and then you could upgrade and have like soldiers, and then upgrade and have like aliens with lasers. It's like
Right.
that,
Ah, okay,
but
okay.
Hololive members.
I like it. I like that.
And
Okay.
then they've got a bunch of other little stuff in it too. Like there's a public relations thing, which it's basically it gives you three tweets, and you have to like figure out what combination to get the best uh, viewership of your tweet, and you get money and stuff for that. And then they have like there's four mini games that they're going to be coming out with. They've got only one of them so far, but it's basically like a temple runner type game.
I got you.
And then yeah, so there's a bunch of different stuff to the games, and it was only like $3 or $4, so
So I guess
wasn't too bad.
the question's got to be asked. How many hours have you sank into it?
No comment.
All right. So that is Hollow Parade.
This says 11 hours, but it's probably lying. I don't think it's probably been like 2 hours maybe.
11 hours isn't so bad. I mean, like I've played games with it for 11 hours before I ultimately dropped them. But I don't know. Like for me, like a game that I've like really really sank time into is usually like upwards of 400 hours and plus.
Yeah,
Which I think right now Master Duel might actually surpass Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was previously the game that I'd sank the most time into. But yeah, I think Master Duel slowly overcoming that. But that said, what did Bard do this weekend? He went to Anime Frontier. It was an anime convention. It's the first one that I've been into for a long time. Like it's normally the case that an anime convention has to happen in my town for me to consider going. And I honestly haven't considered going to one in a long time. Like the last time that I went to a convention was actually a trading card convention, which was just a huge mistake because I spent so much money on shiny cardboard there, so much money on shiny cardboard.
sounds like a skill issue, but okay.
It is a skill issue. In this particular case at Anime Frontier, I spent so much money on anime merch there, so much money on anime merch.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Actually, to be honest with you, I didn't actually spend that much money on anime merch. I spent most of the money that I spent at Anime Frontier was food because
I spent literally. You're just like I spent so much money on anime merch. I spent so much money on anime merch. I actually didn't spend that much money on anime merch.
yeah, no, no, that was part of
Make up your mind.
that was kind of like the joke here. So like normally I would spend money on anime merch, but the thing is, like I had to travel out of my from home to get to this anime convention, so I'm not familiar with the area. And convention food is ridiculously expensive. So they'll be like, "Oh, we'll sell you a hot dog, but it'll be $15," and it's like a ballpark franc on a Mrs. Baird's bun, right? And we'll just microwave it in front of you, and like if you want any toppings, there's ketchup and mustard packets off to the side, right? It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, Helix brings up a good point. A bottle of water was $10. So it's just like this is stupid. So like a lot of the times we would whenever we would go, we would just not eat, and we would just like eat like a hearty breakfast, and then we'd eat like a what do you call it, like a big dinner but like in between we wouldn't eat anything. And it's kind of like this is just a symptom of conventions normally, because whatever convention center that it's being held at, if they have food, the food will be expensive because, oh, it's like an event, you know. um but yeah, so like usually on our way in, we would have breakfast, and we would have a big breakfast. And then whenever we got home, we would have like a huge dinner. In between, there was one day when, which was the Saturday, we went for Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, Sunday, we decided to call it early and head back home. And that was more of a let's avoid the traffic issue than, than like, we don't want to be here, because it was fun. We actually had a blast there. But what was it? Um, so Saturday, Sunday, or Friday and Saturday. Friday we just kind of went, and we got there like around 1 ish in the afternoon. So like it was between 1 and like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night that we stayed there, like about 9 hours. And then on Saturday we went there earlier, at like usually, like I think around opening time, which might have been like 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember. And we stayed late, so we didn't leave until like almost 10 o'clock at night. But in the middle of the way, Brother Gamma showed up, and he was like, "Hey, you guys want some chicken?" And we're like, "Chicken, you say?" And he's like, "Yeah, I brought Jollibee." You remember during our fast food tier list that we did, Jollibee was one of the things, and neither of us had ever had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I got to try Jollibee for the first time, and it's fried chicken, and it's really really good. So
I thought you were just gonna be like, it's fried chicken.
yeah,
That's all I can say about it. It's
it's
okay.
it's fried chicken, and there was bees in it, and the bees were jolly. But
Speaking of fried chicken, we're actually getting a Zaxby's up here.
no kidding, you're gonna love
So
Zaxby's, man.
I'm gonna whenever it's open, I'm gonna go try it. I'm gonna come back on one of the shows and be like, it's fried chicken.
Yeah, it's fried chicken. It was really good. And Brother Gamma brought like a whole variety, dude. Like I was like, okay, well, this is kind of a lot. And he's like, yeah, I brought $50 worth of chicken for all of us to have. And I was like, holy cow. So, like we're sitting at like a convention table, because they have like sitting areas, right? So we're sitting at a convention table, and what's it called? Like we're all digging into Jollibee. He brought like the big bucket with the sides, and also like some tenders and stuff. And what was it like? Helix, me, and him are eating. Mordor fucked off somewhere. Who knows where he went? But like so we're eating, and people keep coming up, like people in cosplay. So this is really hilarious. So like we like fucking. Raiden Shogun from Genshin shows up, and she's like, "Where'd you guys get Jollibee? Is there a Jollibee near here?" And I was like, no, there is no Jollibee near. Like 2B from Near Automata is like, "Oh my gosh, is there a Jollibee nearby?" I was like, no, our friend brought this from elsewhere." So it was actually kind of a funny thing. In terms of what we did while we were there, we attended a couple of panels, and it was fun. I was in cosplay myself. I was dressed as Tatsu from the anime The Way of the House Husband. And so like every now and then people would stop me. I was like, "Hey, you're a house husband. Can I have a picture?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." Lord Mordor says panels in quotation mark, because yes, the thing is, when we went to panels, except for the third one, which I went to different panels with Helix and Mordor, and both of those panels had the problem where one of them, the presenter never showed up. And the second one had the problem where, what do you call it? The one presenter showed up out of, I think that she said that there was five of them. One presenter showed up, and she couldn't get the PowerPoint to work. So those two panels were early in the morning. And so like the first one, we had kind of like this fun thing. It was the panel on your anime hot takes, right? And
Yeah.
and presenters didn't show up. So this guy who had apparently run panels in the past, who was from Houston, stands up and he says, "Hey, I'll take over. I've done this before." So he basically forms a line of everybody who has a hot take in front of the mic. And he says, "Okay, we got this much time on the panel, so I'll keep track of time, and I'll make sure that you guys stay to like 3 minutes or under on your hot take, and then just kind of like go 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 go." And so he's kind of like getting everybody to participate in this stuff. I was like, dude, it was lucky that he was here, because this guy took over, and it was amazing. And
Bard. I hate to tell you, but that guy, that was planned.
it might have
All of
been
that was
planned.
planned.
I mean, he went really hard with it, so I mean, it might have been planned, and if it was, I sure as heck couldn't tell. So it was pretty sweet, and like everybody had some hot takes, but if to me it feels like whenever you have like an anime hot take, it very quickly devolves into people saying the anime you like is bad and you should feel bad. And that was kind of like a lot of the takes that there were there, including mine, because mine was like, "Hey, Hunter x Hunter's really mid," and like Nen isn't the super be all end all power system that you guys say it is. But then I concluded mine by saying, like, additionally, Digimon is an isekai, which got a pretty fun reaction. So I was like, okay, that was fun.
It's just the whole crowd starts booing you.
Yeah, everyone was like, no, no, no. Helix says all the people were bad mouthing One Piece. Yeah, it's true. A lot of people were like, One Piece is bad and you should feel bad. Uh, Mordor says the guy definitely was not planted. The panel started like 20 minutes late, and he was sitting in the crowd the entire time. So yeah,
No, that's like classic plant. Like
classic
that's
plant.
classic
Let's
plant.
start the panel 20 minutes late just so that everyone's kind of annoyed by the time.
Well, it's to build suspense, and it was for the hot takes, right? So that builds suspense, and it also gets the people like pissed off. So they're like, "Yeah, fuck One Piece."
Yeah, and that's kind of like the thing that I was gonna say is like every hot take was like One Piece is bad, and or like Hunter x Hunter's bad, or like Isekai is bad, and y'all should feel bad, and also like the guy who like everyone just unanimously was like, no, you're just wrong, was the guy who was like Full Metal Alchemist is trash, and everyone was like, no, that's not a
I mean,
hot take, you're just
kind of based with
kind
that
of base. You
statement.
really think so?
It's kind of based.
So someone called me kind of based for my Digimon is isekai take. Like as soon as I stood off this stage, there was this one guy who was like, "Hey, that's a base take," and I was like, "Thank you, I'll take that, and I'll go sit down." Uh, but so there was that. The second panel was kind of like it was weird because, like I said, the girl just couldn't figure out how to make the PowerPoint show up on the screen. So she's like, "Okay, so this is a panel on the benefits or like the merits of English voice dubbing, right?" And as she's trying so hard to get everything to work, and she's like not getting there, so she's like, okay, so what do we just talk to each other? You guys got any hot takes? It was like we literally just came from like the hot takes panel. It was like literally like as soon as that ended, we came here.
She
uh
was another plant.
yeah, and like ultimately, like this one was less of like a hot takes talking to her, and it ended up being kind of like a, okay, we're talking to each other, and like telling our takes, so it was kind of like the audience speaks to each other, right? And then ultimately the same guy from the previous panel comes up and he's like, all right, let's talk voice dubbing. And then a third guy eventually showed up. He's like, hey, I'm here and I'm a presenter, so let's talk voice dubbing. And it was kind of like, it ended up being like a really, really good debate, because there was the people who prefer sub and they said their takes. And there was the people like me who prefer dub, and we said our takes, and it was pretty respectful for the most part. Like there were some people who were just like straight up like, nah, 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 you're wrong. But like, whatever. Every crowd has their naysayers. So that was the panels, and there's a third panel, but I'll talk about that one in a bit. That was the panels, and what ended up happening in between that is we would hit the dealer room, get ourselves some souvenirs, some merch and stuff. I walked away with like a Monkey D. Luffy figure, which was really cool. Brother Gamma actually bought a lot. I mean, he went there like, I am here to buy a wardrobe, and like every time we would stop, he would just like get himself a new T-shirt, and I was like, okay. Uh, and the entire time that we were in the showroom floor, we could never get a hold of each other. If we got separated, that's it. We're gonna be looking for each other for the rest of the time, right? Because there was no signal in there. So it was kind of like one of those things, like we will try to text each other, and your phone will be like, okay, sending, and it'll be sending for the next 15 minutes. So it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, okay, well, this just turned into a scavenger hunt. Gotta go find Gamma. Gotta go find Helix, etc., etc. And the rest of the time, we actually spent it in the card game area because Helix and Mordor went there with the intent of playing some Magic. I went there with the intent of playing some Yu-Gi-Oh, and you know, it was kind of cool. So Friday played some Yu-Gi-Oh. There was a tournament. The tournament started late. Uh, so I was just like, oh my gosh. But like whenever it finally got started, it was pretty good. I ended up with like one win, one loss, and one draw. And I only played 3 duels, so it was just kind of like, yeah, this is what it is. Um, and it was what was it? It was playing for a box. Initially they said a case, but like not enough people showed up for a case. But I was like, yeah, we can do a box. You know, a box will be fine. I was like, all right, fine. And Helix says we got some good games. Everybody who went there with cards had excellent games. You know, like I think mine ended up being like on the night, and I'm gonna forget some, I know, but like the first game was against Mikanko. The second game, the guy was playing like a Manatium Kashtira Scareclaw, like combination. So it was mostly Manatium, but you know, he also had like the Kashtira and the Scareclaw to fall back on if Manatium didn't work. And my last one was against like Shadal Tearlaments. So I lost, or we drew with Mikanko because he had like a really good setup where he could like just stall me out, and ultimately no damage was done. Hello, hello, hello to King of Canadian Hill. I won against the Kashtira Scareclaw Manatium, and it was in time because I dealt damage. They called time, and I moved to the end of the phase. So like he lost because I had done exactly 3,000 damage out of his 8,000 life points, and he was like, "Okay, that's a loss." And I was like, "Well, hell yeah, let's go." And of course, you know, shed all tier elements. I lost. So I mean, it was what it was. I think ultimately I came in like fourth place or something like that because other people dropped out. And then like the next day, we went there and everybody was waiting for Magic games, and everybody kept coming by with like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play some Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think it's mostly because me and Gamma were playing against each other. So like other people with Yu-Gi-Oh cards showed up and they're like, yeah, you guys were playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Let's play against each other. I was like, all right, cool. And we just kind of like keep doing that thing where we kind of like keep swapping out opponents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my favorite game of that night was I went against a guy who says, which deck of mine would you like to go against? I have light blue sleeves, regular blue sleeves, and dark blue sleeves. And I forget what I said. I think I said like, you know, give me the regular blue, and it ended up being like Eldritch. So like, you know, we have Golden Land versus Silver Castle, me just like dueling against this dude, and we're going hard against each other, man. Like, you know, he actually won game 1, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to game 2, and it was just kind of like this hard, like we are just against each other, and we exhausted all of our resources. You know, just to put it in perspective, you know, like furniture set a labyrinth card from your deck onto the field, and Elixir and Golden Land cards banished from graveyard to set an Elixir or a Golden Land onto the field. This game went on so long that eventually we could no longer activate either the furniture or the elixirs in the graveyard. It was just like we ran out of resources, and now it's just like a hard stalemate. And ultimately, I managed to like I managed to like overcome like his defenses and just start hitting, and like it just got to a point where I'm like, okay, like I only need to do 300 damage, 300 damage, and I win. And like it took me some time because he had some really good defensive floodgates, but ultimately I got over them, and I was just like, boom, 3,000 onto your 300 life points left. And he's like, yeah, that's a win. And at this point, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I have a third panel that I wanted to go to today, and this guy, I was like, this duel took it out of me, man. So I was like, all right, let me pack up my stuff. And he was like, yeah, man, I wanted to go to this video game exhibition. So like, I'm going to go to that. And I was like, okay, you cool calling it a draw? He's like, I'm cool calling it a draw. He's like, I won one, you won one. I'm like, all right, cool. So we shook hands and we walked away. It was just like, okay, we're good. But another reason that I kind of decided to call it a draw and walk away is because the guy who won the tournament on Friday kind of showed up with like this sign that says undefeated at Yu-Gi-Oh, come lose to me, right? And
Yeah.
and this guy was like satellite hovering over everyone playing Yu-Gi-Oh, dude. I mean, like he was like he was like helicoptering over everybody, and whenever he found people that he's like, "Oh, you're good. Let me challenge you." He just kind of like kept like hovering over us, and like whenever a game seemed to kind of like shift, he's like, "Okay, I play winner, I play winner, I play winner, I play winner," and he was doing that constantly. We got to a point where me and Eldritch guy are just kind of like trying to beat each other, and he kept coming back. He kept coming back. He's like, okay, did one of you lose yet? Did one of you lose yet? Because again, this game went on for a while, and I'm just like, no, 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 we're still on game two. And he's like, still on game two? Okay, I'll be back. And then he'd leave, and then he'd come back, and he's like, okay, which one of you is winning? Which one of you is winning? And it's like, okay, we're still locked, dude. Like we're at a stalemate. And he's like, guys, you guys are really really good. And then he'd leave, and then he'd come back. I was like, okay, who's winning? Who's winning? Who's winning? And I'm like, oh my god, like, I remember telling Mordor, I'm like, look, even if I was sure I could beat him, I don't want to play against that guy. Like he is giving off some weird vibes, and I'm like, this is gonna be the biggest BS game that I ever play if I go against him. So like whenever me and Eldritch guy finished our game, I was like, oh no, there's a panel I need to go to. Shake hands. Thank you, Eldritch guy, for a great duel. And the guy sees us packing up our stuff. He comes running from across the room, dude. Like he comes like, okay, me next, me next, me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. I got a panel I gotta go to, and like my friend here, he's got like a video game thing that he wanted to go to. So I'm sorry, like I know you've been waiting, but it just kind of didn't work out. And he's like, ah, and he kind of like walks away, and I'm just kind of like putting my stuff up. I go give Helix his bags, which he had left with me, and then as I'm getting ready to leave, and like I was also waiting on Helix and Mortar, who were playing a game of Commander with two other guys that they met, and I was just kind of like, okay, I'm getting ready to leave, and I was expecting that they were gonna come with me, but they're like, oh, we're in the middle of a game. It'd be kind of shit if we left. I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess. So I'm getting ready to leave, and the guy comes up to me, and I guess he just had to get the last word in, right? Because he's all like, I guess this is what happens when you put two trap players against each other. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is what happens. So the last story that I have to share about this convention there, and I know that this is the one that is gonna get like that's gonna make you laugh, or it's gonna make you say like, yeah, this was no accident. So it was called Spicy Pokemon Jeopardy. And I don't know what I was expecting there. But so we go into the panel, right? Into the panel room. And mind you, the previous night, Helix had gone to like a Mad Libs panel, like late at the night, right? And they ID'd us at the door. So I assume that it's just like, okay, so after a certain time, they just check your ID, right? So I go into this spicy Pokemon Jeopardy panel, and it's what ends up happening is like I'm sitting in the crowd, and they're calling for teams, and it's like, oh, like blah blah blah. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I know Pokemon stuff, I'll participate, and I end up getting on a team, and he's like, okay, so here's your categories, and the first category is these nuts, and I was like, oh, what's this about? And they're like, okay, so it's going to be a Pokemon question, but you have to answer it in a D's nuts joke. You have to answer as a D's nuts joke. An example being like, okay, this rock type Pokemon is part of Giovanni's team in Viridian City. And it was like, oh, okay, so like ride on these nuts, right? And it's like, yeah, ride on these nuts. You got it. I was like, all right, cool. And then it's like the last category is superlatives. It's like, oh, we're gonna give you a Pokemon type, like water, fairy, whatever, and you're gonna tell us how many, like which one of these Pokemon has the most artwork. And I'm like, artwork? And they're like, yeah, on r34.com. And I was like, oh. And then like the other categories are like face, bag, titties, and like ass. And I'm like, oh no, what is this? So it's like basically.
Have you literally never heard of anyone referring to things as being spicy?
Well, no, I have, but like
You
the
literally went to a Pokemon porn panel.
Dare, you gotta
And
understand. Whenever we went to the
you
spicy Mad
did this.
Libs,
You
like,
went to this, and you're now admitting it on the internet, where this will be forever.
I know, but like the thing is, I guess I just didn't know what to expect because we went to spicy Mad Libs with Helix, and that was just Mad Libs. Like they were saying, like, oh,
It,
give us a word, give us a noun, give us a this and that. I was like, okay, so it's probably just still gonna be tame. I didn't expect to see Pokemon titties.
if I was there, I would have said, no, we're not doing that. The people you were with, obviously, they either wanted to see you suffer or they are degenerates.
Yeah, so that
I'm
was
talking to Helix and was it Helix and Mordor?
well, we all agreed to go, but then they decided to stay and
Uh,
play Magic, and I was dodging the other guy because I was like, okay, I don't want to. I need an excuse to get out of dueling this guy, so I'll leave. And like we already made
you
plans to go,
they
right?
could
So,
have saved you
huh?
unless you just didn't tell them
Hmm?
or you made plans. The three of you went. Maybe you, I'm disappointed in all of you.
Yeah, so it was basically like the other ones. Anyone that was a body part is like, okay, you call out how many points, like, oh, I'll take face for like, or I'll take back for like 50 points or like 100 points, 200, whatever, like Jeopardy. And they would show you a picture, like an R34 picture. I was like, identify this Pokemon by their ass. And I'd be like, oh, this is what this
So
is.
you thought that they were carding you just because?
Yes, because they did that the night before.
No, no.
For
The
Mad
night before,
Libs.
yeah, the spicy Mad Libs. You may have just not had any that were spicy, but
But look, Mordor even said spicy Mad Libs was the most plain white bread Mad Libs I've ever heard. Exactly. I thought it was gonna be the same thing. So
they labeled it spicy because they want people to say spicy things to put into the Mad Lib.
nobody did.
Yeah,
This
the
is
audience was the plain white bread.
oh god.
Mordor, you can't blame them. This was your goddamn fault. You guys fucked up, and now it's on the internet.
Anyway, we also met Team APS. They're super chill. I got to have like a conversation with Paul, which was nice. Like I actually went up, met them, got a picture with them, and then I was like, "Hey, you guys want to chat for a little bit before the next round starts?" They're like, "Yeah, that's cool." So Alec recognized my cosplay. He's like, "Hey, you're House Husband." I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm House Husband." And then we kind of like chatted for a little while until they called. It's like, "Hey, next round's about to start." I was like, "Oh, that's me." I'm like, "I'll it was nice talking to you guys. It was nice meeting you. Shake Paul's hand, shake Chris's hand." And I don't know why I was going to shake for Alex's hand, but like just awkwardly switched to a fist bump in the middle of it. And then after I fist bump, I kind of hovered for a little bit staring at him. I'm like, "Did you want a handshake too?" It just turned into this really awkward thing where we're just like staring at each other. And I was like, I'm going to go to the next round now.
The first part of your story is just it was good. You said good things, and it was like, oh, you said, and then it just everything went downhill when you're like, yeah, I went to a Pokemon porn panel. And I didn't know. I didn't know that's what the kids call it these days.
I
It's
didn't know that that's what the
spicy.
kill call. I mean, because like I was expecting that they'd have spicy questions. I didn't know
I
that they were
was
gonna.
just expecting that they would be talking about peppers.
Yeah, no, I thought that everything was gonna be in the form of text. I didn't know that there was gonna be images. So like,
No, Bard. That's why they carded you. They carded you because they were going to show you
well, what about the
pornographic
mod
images.
libs?
Because they expected people to be saying like spicy things,
Exactly,
and
but it
then
was in text
the whole
form, right?
audience was just plain white bread, according to you guys.
And then the guy at the anime hot takes was like, "Hey, if you like Pokemon stuff, you're low key a furry." And I was like, "No, no." Anyway, moving on. In card games,
Yeah, we better fucking move on.
we only got like a couple of things in card games here. Battles of Legend, Chapter 1 is scheduled for a February release date on the 22nd. And it's gonna contain cards from the previous Battles of Legend. So like Battles of Legend, Relentless Revenge, Battles of Legend, Heroes Revenge, etc., etc. And it looks like this will be the first time that we have a reprint of Chaos Emperor Dragon, the Pendulum Monster.
Yeah, well, there's a couple cards here that I see that needed reprints because The Photon Lord needed reprint. The
Mm.
Harpy, I think it only had like promo printing.
Oh, really?
Um, BLS is like a semi decent Link monster still.
Mm.
But yeah, Life's Revenge, Relentless Revenge, and Hero's Revenge were all. Oh, and Armageddon. Those were all like really good sets
Mm.
that all had like one or two cards that just never got reprinted enough.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that they're doing this. But
Yeah, that Chaos
uh,
Emperor Dragon's gonna come down in price. Maybe I can finally like upgrade. What do you call it? Dragon Link.
it's only like $30.
Hey, 30
It
bucks is
was
more than I like to pay for cards, though.
it was like I think 100 some or close to 100 for the
It is
longest
the
time.
reason that I very rarely upgrade any commander decks because I don't like the prices in Magic cards, dude. Like prices in Magic are kind of redonk.
Sounds like a skill issue.
It's most definitely a monetary issue, yes. But I wanted to point out Helix mentioned Grand Archive. Yes, we got to try a new TCG called Grand Archive. They were there doing demos, and we tried it out. It's pretty sweet. It's actually you remember previously whenever I mentioned that there was a card game that I played that was a little bit like One Piece. It was little bit like Flesh and Blood. It was a little bit like what do you call it? Like Commander. Oh yeah, the DC Universe game where I was like, yeah, it's a little like Commander. It's a little bit like One Piece. Color identity, blah blah blah. And you were like, yeah, I hate that there's no creativity in this because it's kind of every card game is basically just defaults to it's either Magic like Lorcana or it's Commander. You know. You remember
Yeah,
when we said that? Yeah. So Grand
yeah, it
Archive.
was Magic like Lorcana or Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's
Right.
just needlessly complicated.
Right. So Grand Archive was surprisingly not any of that. It was like a hero game. Like you have your hero that is basically like that is who you are. And your hero determines your life. Your hero determines like a bunch of stuff. And there is an extra deck from which the hero can manifest different weapons and stuff. And the resource system is basically your hand because the way that it'll happen is in order to pay costs you will place cards from your hand face down on the field, and so they count as one unit of like whatever for the cost, right? So if you have a card that costs 3, you have to set down 3 cards from your hand in order to play it. But the way that you recur resources is during your next standby phase. The cards that you set down for cost will return to your hand, and so you can kind of like keep playing cards by using cards. And so basically the idea is early on to get your small drops, you'll place down the big drops in your hand, like so if something costs 5 and you just don't have 5 cards to place down and all that, you can just like play your 1 drop by setting down that 5 drop as your resource. um there's also cards that like there's certain hero cards that like if you play them, like this isn't your hero, this is like an ally, so like a main deck monster basically. You would play it, and then like if it got destroyed or whatever, it would go to your graveyard. But in the graveyard it had an effect like, oh yeah, this card acts like a floating mana basically. At any given point, if you're going to pay for something, you can banish it from your graveyard to pay for a cost. So it was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. So it was an interesting game, and we got 2, what do you call it, 2 demo decks. They basically for playing, like for learning to play, they give you like a demo deck. So that was cool.
Nice,
Yeah, but
nice.
yeah, like that Chaos Emperor Dragon. I remember you were talking about it, like you were like, wow, that thing's still expensive a while back, and I'm happy to see it.
Nice.
I also want that Cyber Slash Harpy. I have one, exactly one, because whenever I was playing Tri Brigade early on, I was playing Tri Brigade Harpies, and I needed one so that I can activate, what do you call it, Harpy's Featherstorm from my hand.
Yeah, it's a decent card. It's not like a great by any means, but
It's pretty good, and the fact that you can make it with like as long as you're using Harpies for its summon, you don't need a tuner.
yeah,
Yeah, and it bounces stuff back to the hand. I mean, it's just good interaction. Plus, it makes Harpy's Featherstorm live in your hand.
That card's pretty good, especially if you have a harpy, because it lets you add Feather Duster.
It does, for sure. So that's pretty good. But like, hey, Dare, you like music?
No, I
Okay,
don't.
great, because Melodious is getting support, and this support is good, man. This is,
Now I see they get two pendulum monsters. They're
yeah,
not a pendulum deck, so that's kind of interesting, I guess.
these pendulum monsters have excellent effects. Because basically, like, they will search, they will extend, and they will recur themselves. Because if you can, like, if they're face up on your extra deck and you fusion summon a Melodious monster, which they're a fusion deck, so sooner or later, right? They will place
Yeah.
themselves face up on your pendulum zone.
Huh.
Yeah. So like they got that going for them. They're searchers, you know. I think that one searches like a monster, the other one searches like a Melodious spell or trap. So I mean, like I'm pretty sure like their fusion card like is covered under that search. And then on top of that, the two new fusion bosses are really, really good, especially if you get them out on the field at the same time, you know, because like one of them says that you can't respond to the activated effects of a Melodious fusion monster. So, you know, it just like makes all Melodious fusion monsters unable to be interacted with, right? And then the second one is like, oh, send as many Melodious cards as you want from your field or in your hand to the graveyard, bounce that many cards back to your opponent's hand. Dog,
Yeah.
that's
Bouncing cards back to your opponent's hand is pretty good.
yeah,
Seems pretty good.
non-targeting also, so it's a pretty
Yeah. I feel like Konami has just determined that all of these older decks that like haven't gotten support in forever, the best way to support them is making them into pendulum decks.
hmm. Actually, I
Because
never thought of that, but yeah, you're right.
like super heavy, uh, they're not really a pendulum deck, but at the same time as like Konami was just like, hey, here's two pendulum monsters that make you kind of broken now.
When did Melodious premiere? Was it during Arc 5 or was it during
It
Sexel?
was Arc 5
Okay.
because it was um, the main character's like best friend is her deck.
Zuzu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that that's why they're pendulum decks. I think it has less to do with just like, oh, we don't know what to do with them, make him a pendulum deck. But
Well, like I said, they made super heavy a pendulum deck as well,
yeah, but Super Heavy
which
also premiered in Sex
even yeah,
in
but
Arc
in the
5.
anime they didn't. In both those decks in the anime, they didn't use pendulums.
Yeah, that is true. And I think that the one that will 100% like prove your point is Amazoness.
Yeah, that was also briefly in Arc 5
Yeah.
and was not in the pendulum dimension. That was in a different dimension.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is this one getting it?
Why pendulum? Why? Yeah, I don't know either, but like it is a thing that happened. So I think that this is really really good support though because uh, it just covers a lot of things that you want a good deck to do. You know, because it'll search, it'll extend, it'll recur, and on top of that, it you know prevents unwanted interaction and it has interesting interaction in the form of non-targeting mass bounce, you know, so like that's actually really really cool. Will it be good? I don't know. I hope so. That'd be
I
interesting.
doubt it.
But you know, like it is what it is, right? I think that one of the Melodious monsters also has like and I'm pretty sure it's the one that prevents interaction, but she also has like an effect that says if she's sent to the graveyard, you can like smack a Melodious monster from your deck or from your extra deck face up on the field. So like there's even that, you know, like it's like self replacement. So I mean, it's just really really good support.
I know
Melodious.
there's a lot of the melodious cards just allow themselves to fusion summon with themselves. So
Yeah.
like it seems like it could be good. I don't think he'll be like meta relevant, but I don't know.
Yeah. Still pretty sweet. So speaking of sweet, This chicken is very spicy. Hot, that is. And see, I use spicy here not to mean like adult themed. I use spicy to mean, it's a spicy chicken,
Well, that's because you're old.
like the delicious chicken from Jollibee. But like anyway, I got myself like the 3 copies of the Fire King structure deck while I was at Anime Frontier, which like it took me a while to understand what you want to do with this deck, but like I get it now, and I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty cool because like Fire Kings, I've played them before, and it's usually like, hey, pop your monster, and then during the next standby phase, the monster comes back and does something interesting, right?
Yeah.
Or pop a monster and it extends. Uh, so the way that this works now is that you still do that, like, so you'll pop monsters to like gain resources or to like extend a little bit, primarily speaking here barong and stuff, but like Ponix is just like a really good card. Because Ponix will search you like the new Fire King Sanctuary. Fire King Sanctuary, when you put it on the field, it automatically places the field spell on field, and then you can activate the field spell to do your thing. And the field spell is actually really good because what you'll do is you'll pop your Ponix, and then add your new Garunix, the new Garunix to your hand, and that Garunix, as long as a monster was popped, even if he wasn't in your hand, can special summon himself. So, you got like all these new things that can happen, and it's like really interesting. But additionally, your Fire King Sanctuary will allow you to Xyz summon during your opponent's turn, so you can go into your new Garunix Eternity Xyz monster, which will blow up the field. So, I mean, that's just really, really good stuff. So, new cards, like just kind of like Baller, hell yeah, let's go, is the new main deck Garunix, the new main deck Kieran, Ponix, the new spell trap negator Rangbali, and Fire King Sanctuary. It's just like really, really solid support. And there's a lot of different ways to play it. Like a lot of people are playing it using Snake Eye, but like I'm broke, so I would prefer to play
Oh, you
this.
don't have the $300 to
Yeah,
spend on the warning package?
exactly. I don't have the $300 to spend on the wanted package, so instead I'm playing a Dogmatica version, which is pretty much kind of the same, right? Like you will. King of Canadian Hill says, "I popped my Ponix the other day. It hurts when I sit sometimes." Oh my god.
I hope it gets better, King.
I hope it gets better too. You gotta get yourself one of those cushions that people use for sitting when they have hemorrhoids. It helps a lot.
What's the hemorrhoid cushion in it? He needs to get a Ponix cushion.
Yeah, he needs to get a Ponix cushion. It's kind of the same thing. They're kind of shaped the same way, except one of them supports your Ponix. This joke has gotten out of hand. But anyway, so the Dogmatica package, what it does is, you'll use Nadir Servant to search into your Maximus. Maximus will banish something from your graveyard, and like it'll send like a Shirag. And now that you've banished the thing in your graveyard, Shirag will search your Ponix, and like et cetera, et cetera. You kind of pop off from there. It's actually pretty sweet. So you do all of that without ever normal summoning once. So it works pretty well. Is it as good as Snake Eye? Nah. Like absolutely not. But like it's functional. So I'm like, yeah, this is good. I need to get another Nadir Servant though. I'm running 2 because 2 is what I have. But I feel like having 3 would probably be better.
Well, see, the great thing about the thing is, people before the Fire King structure that came out, Snake Eye was just like dirt cheap because
Was
people
it?
didn't even. It was. You could get like the quarter century rares from the Snake Eye thing
Mm-hmm.
for like 10-15 bucks.
That sounds so wrong. I don't feel like that's right. But
It's true.
okay.
You
I'm
look in your heart, you know it to be true.
speaking of looking in my heart, it was only a matter of time. I have a new Doctor Who structure deck. He's a Time Lord, you see. Doctor Who is about time travel.
Proud of you.
Yeah. So this is a little contrary to the way that I normally play decks. Normally, I like to be aggressive, so like vampires, goblins, etc. This doctor is what the color combination called Tamur, which is red, blue, and green. And what's it called? The thing about it is, it's an interesting commander where it will reward you, but whenever you cast a spell from a place that's not your hand. So a lot of the cards in the deck will cast themselves from weird places, like usually from like your graveyard or from like or like you'll
It's a
scry.
suspend deck, don't they?
Yeah.
They suspend.
So like it'll like scry from the top of your head, from the top of your deck, and then you can play something without paying its mana cost. So it's a lot of that. Uh, Apparently it's Teamer, like murmur, like T-ball and murmur, Teamer. Okay. So basically, this is what it does. It'll play cards from unusual places, from banished zones, from your graveyard, from the top of your deck, and the doctor. Every time that you do that, you can demonstrate, which says that whenever you cast the spell, you may copy it, and if you do, you choose another opponent to copy it. And then, of course, this is a dual commander deck. So your 12th Doctor and Clara Oswald. Clara
Yeah.
Oswald at the beginning of the game, you can declare what color she is. She is actually colorless, but you can say, yeah, she's green, which is the default for the deck. The default for the deck is she's green. However, I've seen a couple of deck profiles where you can get kind of creative with that and just kind of like change your color identity and kind of change the way that the deck works, and it does different things. But her on-field effect is that every time that the doctor triggers, or any doctor triggers, so you have different doctors inside of your deck, she will make their effect trigger an additional time. So, like this is kind of how this works. You'll cast cards and then you'll copy them, and then you'll just kind of like Clara Oswald will make it happen again, and your doctor will keep getting a +1/+1 every time that this happens. So it's actually kind of a really cool thing.
It's like a shitty Elishnorn.
Yeah, it's like Elish Norn, but with different steps.
Oh yeah, you don't really. You
I have
don't.
no clue what that means.
There's a mono white card called Elishnorn, Mother of
Yeah.
Machines,
Uh-huh.
and she makes it to where if your opponents have an Enter the Battlefield trigger, it doesn't trigger. But if you have an Enter the Battlefield trigger, it triggers twice.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you play Praetors, because Praetors are busted.
So basically, what I'm thinking about this deck right now is I'm going to play it as default first, just to kind of get a feel for it, and then secondly, we are going to see what we can modify. I have like the what's it called, the Eminence Commander deck for wizards, and I feel like there's a lot of spells in there that would work in this build very well, because they will cast themselves from like places that aren't your hand very easily. And I feel like if this doctor, like does things whenever things are cast from anywhere besides your hand, it could get out of control really fast. But additionally, they're also in his color identity. So I feel like if I were to mix the two, it would make for a really interesting build. But we'll have to see.
I don't remember the colors of it, but you could look at the Warhammer 40k Chaos Marine deck, because a lot of those deal with casting things from like exile, or casting them from the top of your deck and exile, or doing cascade stuff, which is uh, basically casting from not your hand. So
I
maybe that would work real well.
Yeah, I feel like Doctor Who and what do you call it, 40k would like fit in the same universe a little bit. He travels through time and like fights aliens and stuff.
And then the orcs attack.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the orcs attack. So it's pretty sweet. Mordor says, I would normally not be down with mixing different universe beyond decks, but the Doctor makes it canonically work. Yeah, because he's always traveling to different time and space and dimensions and stuff. So I feel like it's a really good idea to kind of like test it out and see what it. Now there is a build that I saw, and normally I don't like to place hedge all of my bets on one specific strategy, because in Commander, because you have 100 card deck, it's unlikely that you'll ever see the key pieces to make this work. But I did see a guy on YouTube build this deck so that you would like just continuously be casting and recasting these spells, and the doctor would keep triggering, and ultimately it would just do a whole bunch of burn damage to everyone. I think like the end result was like you have to cast 8 spells and then you just automatically win. And I was like, that's interesting. I would like to see that happen. However, again, given that it's a 100 card deck, I don't know that like you're gonna see that very frequently. But yeah, here we are.
Well, that's the thing with like building commander decks is it's like Yu-Gi-Oh. You put cards in it to thin the deck down, so that's why you play like ramp spells and
Mm,
fetch lands and all this different stuff that it may not seem worth it, but
mm.
it's a 1-to-1 that will make your deck smaller. And
Yeah.
then you do see, because that's like for the longest time with my mono white deck, I couldn't justify buying some of the more expensive cards.
Mm.
And then I was like, well, if I play this, then I actually get like more lands into play, and that makes the deck smaller, and I see that card more often. Now I play Smothering Tithe and Armageddon.
Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's the stuff that we have for card games. Now we have in anime and entertainment. You said that if this series bombs, the fallout will be immense. It's the
But
Fallout series.
did we not talk about this already?
No.
I'm pretty sure we talked about the Fallout series already. I'm pretty
Uh,
sure we did this.
did we?
Pretty, how far back did you look on this?
I look pretty far back
I'm
because we
I'm
posted a
I'm
lot.
I'm pretty sure we already talked about this.
Okay, could you give us a recap of what your thoughts are?
Uh, they went over a bunch of things, uh, saying how canonically, or yeah, is it? Yeah, there's a lot of things that don't make sense based on the lore of Fallout that they showed in like the trailer,
Ah.
and bit worried about it, but hopefully it will be okay.
Yeah, you might have spoken to someone else about this, homie, because I don't remember you mentioning any of that.
No, I'm pretty sure I spoke to you about it.
Okay.
Pretty
Well,
sure we talked about it on the show.
I'll go
But I
back
mean,
and check it out again, but like
yeah, you probably will.
all right, anyway, so like additionally, what are friends up to this season, baby? You said Gamma's up to some stuff?
Yeah, she's been doing 14 days of, 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah. Or
Which
Carol
she
Mass, as she called it.
yeah, because that's the sound that frogs make.
Yeah.
But she started Monday and went the whole week. Um, and she's going to be starting back up this Monday because she took today off, uh, just as for like a break.
Yeah.
And she's gonna start Monday and go through the rest of the week.
And it's just games and stuff that she's doing?
It's games and stuff. Can't remember if she's like trying to raise money for something.
Hmm.
It's it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a partner push is what she's trying to do. She's trying to get partner on Twitch,
Ah, yeah.
which she's been doing really well on that too. She's been getting quite a few people watching, and average viewership is, I think, the only thing that she needs to work on.
Well, that's good.
She said,
Yeah, I hope that that it goes well for her. I'll be tuning in if I can, if I get a chance. So
"Yeah, it's
yeah,
early in the morning,
early in the
which makes it
morning.
where I think she's been starting 6 a.m. my time and going till 12.
Okay, well, if it
And
goes
it's
till
just
12,
like you're like, well, it's 8 hours a day, but those are the 8 hours I'm at work. So
yeah, or the 8 hours that I'm asleep, yeah. But we could do that. We can tune in at some point and like see what she's up to. But speaking of Jeopardy, I'll take pairings I never thought would happen for 1,000 dare. Now,
It's this spicy Jeopardy. This is
It's
spicy pairings that you never thought would happen.
I wasn't thinking about it like that, but you know what? Yor and Chun Li, yeah, I'm down for that.
I'm very upset with you.
Yeah, but yeah, Street Fighter 6 is having a Spy Family crossover, which was something really really cool. They had like an animation that they dropped on Twitter, and this was a while back. I mean, this happened before I went to the convention, so I wanted to talk about it back then and didn't get a chance to. But yeah, so like kind of a fun thing. Like the animation features Yor from Spy Family fighting against Chun Li, and I never thought that I would ever see this happen. It's apparently a collaboration for the Spy Family Code White movie that is set to release next year. I'm pretty sure. As of now, the animation is the only thing that we've seen regarding this collaboration. We haven't seen anything else additionally. That being said, it is speculated that it's going to start releasing more details about it as we get closer to the release date of the movie. Uh, a lot of people are just saying it's probably going to be cosmetics, but that's really about it. That's probably like the only thing. I would say that this is the second time that Spy Family has had a collab that I was not expecting. The previous one being they dropped Spy Family cards in the Shadowverse game. You know Shadowverse, that online TCG.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was like a Spy Family event where the field would turn into like the city of Berlin where they live. It would have like the music from the anime playing while you did your duel, and ultimately you could get like, oh, your icon is Anya, and you could get like some cards like, oh, you got Lloyd or you got Yor. It's, it's fun. I
I,
try.
I feel like most of the like collaboration things that I've seen recently have just been they'll reskin one of the in-game characters, and because it's like with Smite, they did a collaboration with V Shoujo
Hmm.
and made Iron Mouse and Yanners and I think Centrea.
Hmm.
I don't play Smite, so I don't remember. There's like 3 or 4 of the V Shoujo characters that they just reskinned 4 of their gods to look like.
Yeah,
I remember Iron Mouse was one because I was like, now I kind of want to play Smite, but other than that, I don't remember.
I gotta say, I really love Iron Mouse. Like, it's one of the.
She won the content creator
She did. She
awards.
won Content Creator of the
I
Year.
was really happy for her for
Yeah,
that.
good for her. Absolutely. Like I know that the entire VTuber community was really happy for her for that because on Twitter, man, they were just like, "Oh, Iron Mouse won, let's go." You know.
A lot of people were like, it's a lot of people are like upset about it. And it's just like,
Ah, come
why?
on.
Why do you even care?
Yeah, really. Because it's not a real person, I guess. Like, oh, it's not a person on camera. It's just like a VTuber, whatever. Like plus she is so good. She's so talented and so funny, man. It's
Yeah, she was I believe she was trained as like an opera singer when
I was
she
gonna
was like a
say the
kid.
first time that I was exposed to Iron Mouse, she was singing I think she's Mexican, and she was singing like
She's Latino.
yeah, she was singing a very classic like Mexican corrido, which is basically like a mariachi song, right?
Yeah,
But she was singing like this classic one, and oh man, she was nailing it. And I was like, holy cow! I was like, that is something you don't see every day, is a VTuber singing a corrido. That's kind of insane. Later, come to find out that she's either from Mexico or she's Latina or whatever, which I guess would be the same thing, but like whatever. Uh, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then afterwards, I kept being exposed to her because she interacts with these voiceover artists that I watch on YouTube.
Sea Dog VA.
Yeah. And so she'll be on them, and I'll be like watching their shorts and stuff. And Mordor sends me some of the shorts that they interact with and stuff too. And one of the best ones that I've seen ever is the one where she's like, "Oh, you have to be nice to me. I'm sick." And the guy says, "You have a medical condition. You're literally always sick." And she goes, "That's discrimination." I was just like, "Oh my god." It was just like,
She is by far like the best. And that's it's upsetting that she's got like a permanent medical condition, but
Yeah, but
she's doing well for herself.
yeah, and so like absolutely, like the content creator of the year award, well earned. Like good for her. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like Spy Family, Street Fighter, but now we're moving on because we're talking about content creation. Twitch likes the spice, but not that much spice, you heathens. You mentioned that there was updates to the terms of user things.
Yeah, it was great because they updated their TOS saying
Mm-hmm.
that like some art is like fine.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, yeah, you can draw like this and that, and it's fine. It'll be fine. And people were like, we're just gonna draw full on porn. And Twitch like 2 years later was like, okay, we're gonna have to pump the brakes on this. No, no,
Like,
you're not allowed to do this.
wait a second, not that much. That's like,
But the whole situation ended up causing like so many problems on Twitch, not just with people like streaming that kind of stuff, but there's just so many people that decided that the best course of action was to hate raid people.
mm-hmm.
So they would go into the streams with like either a bunch of bots or just a bunch of other people and like spam the chat with uh, rather obscene like
Mm.
ASCII art or saying racial slurs and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and just like doing all they can to like get these people reported and like taken off the platform. And
Yeah.
it was a huge mess. There's still like stuff going on. Hopefully Twitch is able to like stop it, but
Right. I mean, it is kind of something that they should have been even like a little bit aware of, to be honest with you. Because I mean, like whenever you open those kind of floodgates, you gotta be aware that there will be people kind of like testing the boundaries.
yeah, and that's it. A couple of the people that I mod for, they are artists, and as soon as they got the like we can draw this kind of stuff, they went and they were doing artwork like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it, I don't know how I feel about it personally
Mm.
because I don't care for that kind of stuff. But like watching the stream, there were so many new people that came into the stream. There's so many like new followers. The viewership for these people it was around like double or triple what it usually was.
Yeah.
So it's just like this is it's weird and I don't like it, but it's helping in a way. It's
Yeah.
helping with viewership. So it's like I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this.
Nah, I mean, art is gonna art, bro. Like I know that I follow like an artist called Reynaldo Quintero on Twitch, and he's the artist that I would watch on Twitch back before this was a thing. So I was watching his clean artwork,
Yeah.
and he's where I learned to do a lot of color. So like a lot of the artwork that I make is usually with his techniques in mind. Now, mind you, I'm not very good, not like he is. But like he has helped me a lot with like my mindfulness of like color balance and like good pairings and stuff like that. And like it's something that I'm a fan of his for. And also, like he's just entertaining to watch whenever he does like his artwork. He's done like backgrounds and like scenery and stuff like that, and he is really good. You can tell that he's very artistically minded. But the fact is, he does also do lewd artworks, right? And I don't know if he took advantage of this. But it is the case that I know that a lot of his fame came from like a bunch of lewd artwork that he would do of like famous anime characters. So to me, I'm kind of like I don't know if he would, but like the gates were open for him to indulge in the artwork that gained him a lot of his following.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would like help improve or like if he would do well or better because of it, but like it is something that was available to him now if he wanted to take advantage of that. So I understand, like, and in my head, if I first saw this, my mind wouldn't have gone to like let's draw straight up porn. My mind would have gone to like I'm allowed to do tasteful nudity, like artwork.
And that's what my friends were doing. They weren't just like, hey, we're gonna just draw porn.
Right.
Like a lot of the stuff that was being done
Yeah.
was tasteful, and
Yeah, like it's
they
something that
they
you
did
could see
say
in like
like
an art gallery or something, right? Not like something that you'd see in like a sketchy all night theater, right?
or spicy Pokemon
Or spicy Pokemon.
Jeopardy.
Some of those images have left me scarred. Anyway,
It's your fault.
yeah,
Your
no,
fault.
I probably should have thought about it, but yeah, you're right. But yeah, so like that's basically where I'm at. I'm like, dude, I would have gone straight to like, hey, tasteful nudity is okay. Like something with artistic merit, not like, hey, we're gonna like really go all out. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But hey, you know what? Like I said, whenever you open floodgates a little bit, there will be people testing the boundaries to see what they can get away with, and that's something that if I had been on the board deciding this, I would have been like, we need to be ready for this because it will be a problem.
Well, I don't know. Like I see what they were like going for because expand your horizons, but it's
Yeah.
like be a little more clear in your
Yeah.
wording
Mm-hmm.
uh, because that was another thing. Like they were quick with the response to it because it was like 2 days it
Chances are
lasted.
they probably knew after like the first hour or so. They're like, oh, we made a mistake.
Yeah, and the main issue I think is uh, when you open up Twitch, I didn't get any type of notification to the TOS change.
Hmm.
I saw it off of Twitter, which people, not everyone uses Twitter.
Yeah.
So there was another thing with like some of the streams that I was in. People would come in and be like, "You can't draw this stuff. This is not. This is against TOS." And it's like, well, actually, the TOS has been changed. You can draw this stuff, but yeah,
Yeah, Gamma says Nintendo didn't like being associated with adult content. I heard that they were opening the Nintendo store to feature more adult-oriented games. Like I heard that the dating sims were now becoming like a regular staple there. Did they decide to change their mind about that? But while he looks up an answer for that, Frostivus is upon us.
I was so excited for this, and then it was just kind of like, oh. So Frostivus is the Dota 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Dota 2 holiday celebration.
Mm.
Uh, I put like bullet points down, but I see that once again, instead of putting the bullet points for me to read, you put random things that I'm not going to
Frostivus
read.
appears to be a holiday
So
celebration on Dota.
yeah,
Dare plays Dota.
Frostivus has usually got like a different type of game mode you can play.
Yeah.
But this year it's just you get points for winning games, and then you can get a seasonal chest for just Frostivus.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done uh, reskins of like extremely rare or valuable items that you can get that are Christmas themed. So there's like the Wraith King Arcana, which turns him into his old model of Skeleton King.
Yeah.
But it's Chris Kringle. So he's Skeleton King, but with like a Santa suit on. And
I love it.
they've got the Crystal Maiden persona, which is it turns her into a wolf, an ice wolf, and the persona change that they made for Christmas has like she's a sled dog, and she's got like a baby Crystal Maiden on her back, and it's the most adorable thing, and I want it, and I'm gonna spend money for it, but don't tell anybody that.
Yeah, I mean, I spend money on Master Duel from time to time. No judgment here.
Yeah, but I wish it was like the old, like Griveling or like Dire Tide, where there's like an extra game mode to play. But maybe we'll get that later. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I hope so. Like it sounds like a good time all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Valve also decided, in the spirit of Christmas, to do something kind of funny with
Yeah.
people who were not so nice this year,
Yeah, I
which
saw. That's
is
the next slide.
giving people a lump of coal, the highly toxic lump of coal, which just goes, haha, you've been banned, motherfucker.
Now, my bullet points here is like, okay, that's gotta hurt, but it's also kind of funny, right? Like, getting banned sucks, but this has got to be one of the most humorous ways to get the boot from a game.
Yeah, the picture that you actually have, I just cropped that so I could send it to, or maybe that's not the picture that I sent you. I don't know. I sent a picture to somebody, but it was just like a cropped picture of the coal.
Mm-hmm.
But the person, the picture I got was from someone's live stream that they opened up Dota, saw they had a new item, opened it,
Mm-hmm.
had this, and then their matchmaking was disabled as soon as they had it.
Oh, wow. That sucks.
I mean, just don't be a shitty person, and then you don't get banned, right?
Right, right, right. Oh my gosh, that's good though. I love it. I have to say, I have to recognize King of Canadian Hill in the chat says, like comedy, art can be good in all aspects, but a more creative point of view. He's referring to the terms of service on Twitch. So yeah, like lewd art can be art still, but like there is such a thing of like a time and a place, and like also like a context, right? Like where.
Like, my main issue with it
Mm-hmm.
is, if you want to watch that type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
there are places that you can go to watch that type of stuff. Twitch
Agreed.
should not be one of those places.
Yeah, because the
Which,
thing is, it's Twitch is available to all ages. Is kind of the problem. So like you
yeah,
kind of have to put a hard limit on what is what, because like creative or not, you still don't want to expose any ages that shouldn't be exposed to this kind of stuff to this kind of stuff.
and that's probably one of the biggest like issues that people are having, is that there are kids on the platform,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's supposed to be 18 plus, I believe.
And Twitch is supposed to
But
be 18 plus, really?
or it's supposed to be for not kids, but
Oh,
uh, you're supposed to have like, you're supposed to label your streams if it's 18 plus or not.
right.
People sometimes do that, sometimes don't.
Yeah. No. Well, here we are, I guess. But Lump of Coal is hilarious, dude, and I absolutely love this. This is a wonderful.
It
Um,
is. It's literally the best thing that Valve has decided to do this year.
but so speaking of like lumps of coal and frostivas and stuff, it is kind of the end of the year, so like looking forward to next year. As 2023 concludes, there are anime on the horizon that I'm like, oh, I am ready for this, because it's like it's one of those things that it's like, like that the year has had some bangers. You were talking about Frieren Beyond Journey's End. It's got some low points. Luckily for me, I didn't actually see any anime this year that I didn't care for. So, oh wait, actually no, never mind. I Shall Survive Using Potions was kind of a low point for me. But
That was a great anime.
it okay, but we got some stuff to look forward to. Studio Bones has their 25th anniversary project called Metallic Rogue, and they've released like a trailer for it, and it looks sick as hell, man. It's kind of like a buddy cop thing taking place in the future on Mars, and it's pretty sweet. Like a human person and an android fighting against like I guess terrorism on Mars. I don't know, but like it's pretty cool. It looks pretty great.
Those damn Mars terrorists.
Yeah, really. Blue Exorcist is an anime that the first season just fell off the rails really hard, and then they came back and like released a new season like way later, like years, right? And they're like, yeah, this is season 2, and this one's more faithful to the manga, where everybody was like, thanks, I guess, but like the first season was still a train wreck. And again, years later, they're releasing this like, hey, season three, you guys still watching? And I'm like, okay, you need to reboot this, homie. You need to go back and do this like a Full Metal Alchemist style, like from the ground up, because you guys killed season one. I'm like, and I know that there will be Blue Exorcist fans watching, myself included, but we still have that like that sour taste in our mouth from like season one, dude. I mean, like you can't just like do this. You can't just like keep being like we're just gonna move on and pretend it didn't happen. I'm like, come on. Um,
Must be really nice to have bullet points to remind you what you're saying.
yeah, it must be. But the thing is, I'm not reading my bullet points though, so I mean, there is that. We have
Oh, okay.
we have Banished from the Heroes Party season 2. Banished from the Heroes Party was one of those anime that I didn't want to watch because my wife was being really insistent that I should, and I'm like, whenever somebody like really pressures me into doing a thing, I don't want to do that thing. So she's like, "You gotta watch Banished from the Heroes Party," and I was like, "I don't wanna." And then I ended up watching it, and it was actually really really good. So I'm like, okay, so they're getting a season 2. Fuck yeah, let's go. And of course, Dan Da Dan. We talked about Dan Da Dan last time, so I mean, like, I'm excited for it. It's got Studio Science Saru, which is one that I haven't heard of in the past. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with this. It's pretty great. But to conclude, leaving off on an anime note, fuck yeah, boy! Makoto Shinkai's animated spectacle Suzume has been nominated for a Golden Globe.
That's a globe that's made out of the metal gold.
Yeah, indeed.
Wow.
Yeah, the atomic symbol for it being AU.
I wouldn't go that far, but
yeah, but like this is actually kind of fun to see because I went to watch this movie in theaters during its second run. I missed it during its first run, and I was so happy I did, dude, because this was a fucking spectacle. And I was like, this is a really really good movie. Like it's got clean animation. I watched it sub because there was no dub available, but hey, you know what? Whatever. The story plot was good. It had like interesting world building. The characters were likable. I mean, like this was just a home run all around, right? And it felt like a summer blockbuster type of thing. Like something that you would go to the theaters for with the family to watch, and all of you would leave very satisfied. It was like really really good. So
go and leave very sad.
yeah. So hearing that it was nominated for a Golden Globe is kind of a fun thing for me because I'm like normally Golden Globes it's very rare to see anything anime being nominated. So seeing this it just kind of like really continues to cement the idea that anime is kind of mainstream now. Whereas, back when I started watching it, I was a weirdo for it, but now it's just like, ha, I liked it before all of you
You're
losers.
still a weirdo for it.
Well, this is.
You literally told us about how you the type of Pokemon
I am never
you
gonna live
watch.
this down. I am never gonna
You're
live
not. You're not
this.
because you told me and everyone else that you went to spicy Pokemon.
Well, yeah, but this was supposed to be a like, oh no, Bard, what a silly misadventure you had. Not like, wow, Bard, we are gonna judge you forever.
That sounds like a skill issue.
Yeah. But so yeah, I'm excited to see this, and honestly, if it wins, it's well deserved. Like I said, it was a really, really good movie. Um, so it'll take place on the Golden Globes will be on January 7th, and I'm excited to see like how well this movie does. I hope it wins, but like, and honestly, I figure it stands a good chance of winning because like the only other contender that I can think of that it might have had this year was like the new Spider-Verse movie. And like everything else that Disney has put out this year has been like really mid. So I mean, that's just like yeah.
Yeah, really mid.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
Should call them mid snee.
Mid-snee.
They're so mid.
Yes. Thank you for watching, everyone. Also, please remember to like, comment, share, and if you have any topics that you would like for us to cover in the next Battle Phase podcast, feel free to leave them in the comments here or follow us on Twitter so that you can comment it to us on Twitter at the Midnight Bard and at
the Midnight Bard Dareinger.
The Midnight Bard, but Dareinger. But
Yeah.
until next time, everybody, I have been the Midnight Bard. This has been
The Midnight Bard,
but Dareinger,
but Derringer.
and adios.
Ooh,